Today is Tuesday, November 20th, and today is Tuesday, November 20th, and we're in Charleston. Today's not Tuesday. Today is Sunday, November 20th, and we're in Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm about to go on the Middleton Place plantation tour.
I live in Somerville. I've lived actually downtown on the riverbank, and then now Somerville over the 44 years I've been here. But this morning when I left the little town of Somerville, which is at the head of the Ashley River, it was raining. So that's the reason I brought my raincoat. But it's not raining here, so we're not going to worry about it. And I saw some of you with name tags from California. And in just a minute we're going to be crossing the Ashley River. And the carver is to your left and behind it, and way down that way. We'll talk about it later. But so you see we have the water on three sides. And I will have to tell you that the names Ashley and Cooper came from one man. Charles II claimed all of this land for England, of course. He gave the land. Okay, wait a minute. We have a little mechanical problem here. Ed's going to take care of for us. We'll let him do that. Now, if you look down to your left, you get to see in a minute as we turn here, you see the church steeples. That's the old city. And upriver to the right, you see some of our marinas. This is the Ashley. Now, we're going to the right. We're going to be up this river toward my right for all of this morning. And this is a new road here we call the James Island Connector, and it really, again, it helps a great deal. You know, we realize this may not fit the ambiance of an old city, but these roads are very, very important. You have to have the old had left was their own time. They had their own gardens. Most of them did. They sometimes had their own chickens or pigs or whatever. And so they could spend it. And if they had a special talent, such as being a fine carpenter or a brick mason, they could hire themselves out to other plantations or city. And half of what they earned went to themselves and half to their owner. So it was really a very complicated system. We tend to think it is so simple, but it was not. It was a very complicated system. And there are records of plantation owners actually buying vegetables and meat from the slaves when his own resources were limited at those particular times. So they're going to get very upset with me because I've stolen their thunder. So I will not tell you a whole lot more. You'll meet these family members through their portraits once you get into the house. But Middleton today covers almost 6,000 acres, and it's still owned by the same family that started it in 1741. Today, 110 acres of the land is the historic section, and it's in a non-profit family trust. So that is well protected, and it will not be changed in the years to come. We're really working very hard, though, to keep the rest of this highway as you see it. The paper mills, the paper companies owned a lot of land here, and the railroad companies owned a lot of acreage over the years, and they began to sell it off just a few years ago, and the developers began to buy up and drool over it, of course, because it was big open land. But we're trying so hard to keep this area as it is, as a rural area. And believe me, it is a tough thing to do. We're still fighting the battle and probably will be for years to come. But anyway, going back to Middleton. Middleton has the first formerly landscaped garden in America. And we're going through part of it. It's a little bit drippy out there, but I don't think it's going to be interfering with us too much, seeing the land, the garden. If you happen to bring rain gear with you, it would be a good idea to bring it just in case it starts drippy along the way. And we'll make sure everybody's comfortable. We'll do the garden walk first. Ed's just going to have more fun. He just loves going through these gates here, don't you, Ed? Oh my goodness. They've got it closed. And not like this is great. Anything you want to add?
How many of you are related to the Wicked Witch of the West? Uh-oh, there's one. Well, you likely melt, but otherwise, most of us should be able to survive the water that's dripping. It's not really house, and the cleared land is the antithesis of the landscape they were living in which you drove through. So this cleared space was a sign of their great commitment to creating in this landscape what they remembered of England.
It's a beautiful horses at Middleton Place Plantation.
This is called the reflecting pond. Now, in the early days, this would have been probably a marsh or just a swampy slough. And then you see it's man-made, sculpted out and so forth, so making it a reflecting. It does this job, you see, it's its name, it's beautifully reflecting. And when those magnolias are in bloom, it is so beautiful over there. And then you see the swans down here. Now these are European swans. And we do have bald eagles here. Thank you for pointing that out.
I got a bald eagle. I got a bald eagle too.
Do you really? Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
That is a wonderful treat to see. So, and it was made about 1820 by Chateau, who was a German architect and sculptor. And you can take a little bit of it home with you. Look at your sticker. You see the wood nymph on your sticker.
Well, there's a church cemetery. Spanish moss and resurrection fern, which she says comes out green if it rains. This tree is between 500 and 1,000 years old. It's 37 feet in circumference. It's called the Middleton oak. It was used by the Indians as a route marker before the Europeans were here, so that tells you how old it was.
Here to see Grant's food.
Just put aside a very pretty, quiet part of the garden for family burials. And the very first to be buried here was Mary Williams, who was married to Henry Lister. And her part is up on the top. And then after that, other family members wanted to be buried here, so they enlarged it to what you see today. There are 5 generations represented within the tomb. Arthur Middleton is buried in there, and he signed the Declaration of Independence. His grandson, Williams Middleton, is buried in here, and he signed the Ordinance of Secession. You see the fence here. Okay, this fence divided the work area from the garden area. Over there, on the other side of the fence is where the slave houses were. They're no longer there today. Work went on. The horses were there, the cows. In fact, they used to still have cows grazing it where we are today. And then they had the fence here divide the beauty. Camellia plants he had brought in from the Orient, from Asia. And he planted 4 of them here. Only one has survived. And that's just a little offshoot. The original camellia, the first, well, they're actually, it is original. But the base is about this big around. Wow. Huge, but in terrible, terrible condition. And this is just one little offshoot from the base. And I don't know how long more we're going to keep it going. But for years and years we told everybody this was the first camellia in all of America. Then we realized there was a greenhouse in New York with one earlier. Come on, this way, just a little bit more so you can all see the ruins. Use your imagination and imagine a large 3-story brick home right there where the steps are. And then a building to the right, building to the left. Now the building to the left has been added too. Originally it was just a rectangular building, simple 2-story building. And so when the family would spend their time here, they would walk out the front door, walk down here, and this is what they.
The sheep and the beautiful trees. Meh.
Engineering department. They have a very strong engineering department. Now look on the left. That's the big parade ground, and on Friday afternoons they have dress parade. All 1,900 cadets march in full dress uniform, have a wonderful marching band, flags are flying, the cannon give their salutes, and it's really an impressive thing to see. And we're going to take a left turn here. And as we turn, look on the right, and you will see the field house and the statue of their mascot, the English Bulldog. They have the real bulldog at the football games. He looks so fierce and he's so sweet.
Oh, that's cool.
On home for Thanksgiving. But see the interior there.
Oh, there's that
The
famous
interior is called the quadrangle.
That's very
I'll show you
famous.
in just a minute. They meet in military formation in that quadrangle when they march to the mess hall. They march to the football games. And if they break the rules, they are sentenced to march in the quadrangle carrying their rifles. That is their punishment for so many hours at a time. Now, look at the canonry on the left here. And look to the right, and you get one more view of the barracks. Well, I sure wish the cadets were here. You get to see a really interesting situation with them marching along. They're building a new barracks down here. They had an old barracks on this site, and it was beginning to crumble. And so they were given special permission to remove it, put up a new barracks that will look just exactly like the old one, except this barracks is going to be air conditioned.
Oh,
They're getting soft around here. Air conditioning. And I guarantee you the freshmen are not going to be in that air conditioning barracks. They're going to be in the one without air conditioning. No, it is not. It's part of the state-supported school system. That's why the women say they have a right to, because their tax dollars went into it as much as anybody. So it is, they do accept state money. Now we'll take a left here and go out the main gate. The most currently famous graduate of this school is not an admiral, is not a general, it's a writer. His name is Pat Conroy. The Lords of Discipline, the Prince of Tides, Waters Wide, the Great Santini. He is an excellent writer, but he was not a model cadet. We're just going to go straight. He was always into trouble, and it took him a long time to accept him. And see the tree with the branches going down to the ground? That is Quercus virginianum, live oak. Keeps its leaves, green leaves through the winter. That's typical. It does not grow tall, it grows wide. Look how graceful it looks. Branches going down to the ground. So pretty. Now we're going to take a right turn here and get out of the park. Sometimes when I come up here on the weekends, I see either a concert going on here in the bandstand on your left, or weddings. I'm not sure which. Why the police cars are parked there today, they don't usually see them there. Isn't that a pretty, pretty place for a wedding site, though, without the police cars? I don't want them there. Now, we're going to take another right head, please. Go down Rutledge. Look on the left here, and you see an old ballpark. Now, this is where our minor league team used to play. It's been given to the Citadel now that we have the new stadium. And they're not going to tear this one down, and I'm so glad. A lot of famous people have played right there. I'm sure you've heard. Very, very nice. Now keep looking to the left. I want to tell you about another school. This is called Ashley Hall School for Girls. It was organized in 1909, kindergarten through the 12th grade. Here it is now on your left. It's a beautiful site, beautiful campus, and their most famous graduate is Barbara Bush. Barbara Bush is from New York. Her family sent her down as a boarding student, and she finished high school there in 1943. So they're very, very proud to claim Barbara Bush as their own. Now if you look on the right, you see we're back in the medical community. We've made a big, big circle up around the Citadel and doing little repairs, looks like. Isn't that a beautiful place? It is still a single-family private home today. Can you imagine getting that as a wedding present at 16? And he was quite a fella. His name was Jenkins Michael. M-I-K-E-L-L is the way they spelled it. He actually signed the Ordinance of Secession. He lost all of his money after the war completely. But he was quite an interesting fellow in the meantime. The old ones, I'm going to show you the old ones in just a few minutes. You see, before 1912, this section here was marsh and mud. And the seawall on the right was completed in 1912. So from all of these you see are from 1912 up to present day. They have this wonderful view. They're very high-ticket items. But when we have the hurricanes, it's not a good place to be. When we had Hurricane Hugo in 1989, we had 135-mile-an-hour sustained winds, so huge wind damage. Look at the statues beside the stairs. Can you see the pigs? I mean, real concrete pigs, life-size pigs. Now that's a little bit unusual. A house that nice deserves a noble lion or beautiful dog or something. This particular family happens to love pigs, and I can explain. Our main grocery store chain here is Piggly Wiggly. You know who lives in that house. No wonder Mr. Piggly Wiggly likes pigs. He's prospered quite a bit on pigs, and he has pigs everywhere, inside and outside, and the whole neighborhood got upset when he did. I'm going to have to find out if there's some special variety. And I've never seen them bloom this time of year before, but by golly, they are blooming right now. And they knew you were coming. That's a good thing. Maybe I invite you more often so you'll have more bloom around here. And the white blossom you see here on the next house, those are sasanquas. It's an early blooming camellia called sasanqua. And notice the tree lining the boulevard. It's the state tree. It's the palmetto. It is native to the area. In the very early days, island right across the harbor here was very vulnerable. It protected the city. And so in the 1770s, when the British were beginning to be a threat, a colonel called White Point Garden. Don't call it that. Nobody ever uses that name for it. It's just called the Battery. And this has been a city park since the 1830s. And I even see a picnic going on, despite the fact it is a bit cool out there today. Now, Ed, we're going to pull up here in the yellow marked area and enjoy this a little bit, because this is such a special landmark. You've got to step out and do a little walking around. It's all very, very neat. Now, if
and then everybody came to town in the winter to party. Winter was the social season. That's when they had all the debutante balls and beautiful parties. And believe me, Charlestoниans know how to party. The wine flowed like the river. Beautiful dresses, china, everything. And then they went back to spring planting for the plantations. So these people... Unfortunately has not been gifted, but I heard that a year from now it's supposed to be one of
That'd be pretty cool with this thing.
You be careful, it's kind of dirty here.
Years old. Here you see lots of earthquake bolts, beautiful ironwork, and of course the colors of the rainbow. Now if you look to the right, you see the streets are called wharfs here because they were true wharfs in the colonial days. They have a lot of cobblestone streets still left around here. And in the colonial period, these buildings were shops on the first floor and living areas above. By 1930, this was a slum. It was a dreadful part of town. And then the restoration started one by one, and today it's a very prestigious address to have. And behind each one is a beautiful courtyard. Look through the gate here on the left with the pink one. Everybody see the pink one? Look through that little iron gate and you get a glimpse of their courtyard in the back. Beautiful, very, very private area back there. Now we're going to take a left turn here and go up at 50 years old. But you see why we call it the four corners of law. We have city, county, federal, God's law. 4 laws here. That's why it's called the four corners of law. And we're going to take a right turn here and go up Meeting Street. I will be so glad when they finish the restoration of that city hall. It has been like that for a year, and they tell us it's going to take about 2 more years. It's really something. Now, they do slow down in the summer because of the heat. That's right. Look at the little city park to the right. The building you see here on the right, the tan, is the first fireproof building in America, 1820s. And keep looking to the right, you'll see another of our cobblestone streets that came as ballast from England. Now quickly look to the left. You see the big white column building on the left? That is Hibernian Hall. That's where we celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Everybody gets to be Irish here on St. Patrick's Day. We have green beer and green grits. And green grits. Now, Southerners eat grits no matter what color. 40s now, the Embassy Suites Hotel. And Ed, we're going to take a right turn at the light, please, and pull over because we're going to have something very special for you now. You get to go into one of our beautiful museum houses. It's the house here on your right, within this brick wall, the Joseph Manigault house from the early 1800s. And Ed's going to take a turn here and pull over to the sidewalk, and I will explain the game plan to everybody so you'll know.
Preservation societies in the country, they were able to purchase the house. In order to maintain it, they turned it into a tenement. There were 10 families and about 30 children living in the house. But in the 30s, during the Depression, they couldn't hold on to it any longer. The house was auctioned for the back taxes, which at that time was $3,000. In South Carolina, then he was able to purchase it, and she gave it to the Charleston Museum. But the museum never had any money to do anything, so it just sat there idle until World War II came along, and then the government leased it, and they used it as a USO for the servicemen. And then finally, in 1949, it was opened up to the public. But there was a very bad period when little pieces of property was sold in order to make
All I want from you is just love me like I love you, and it won't be hard to do. Well, alright, okay, you win. I'm in love with you. Well, alright, okay, you win. Baby, what can I do? Anything you say I'll do, as long as it's me and you. Well, alright, okay, you win. I'm in love with you. Well, alright, okay, you win. Baby, one thing more, if you're gonna be my man, sweet baby, take me by the hand. Well, alright, okay, you win. I'm in love with you. Well, alright, okay, you win. Baby, one thing more, if you're gonna be my man, sweet baby, take me by the hand. Well, alright, okay, you win.
I sure like home. Sam Spade had another child on me. Sergeant Friday, old Charlie Chan, and a Boston Blackie. If you see me walking and you hear me coming, I'm gonna walk right down that street just like a bulldog do, 'cause I've been searching, searching everywhere your way, yeah, yeah. I'm like that north, west, I'm out there. You know I'll bring her in. I'm gonna find her. Jesse Wilson on the keyboards. Look at
And I believe it's Monday, November 21st, 2005. About 7:30 in the morning, and we are cruising southward along the Intracoastal Waterway, which is extremely narrow at this point. Aboard the Nantucket Clipper, and the temperature is very nice. Had quite a rainy night last night. About 9:15 now. We're still cruising along, heading for Beaufort, just left Charleston.
The bridge we're going to be passing through goes from Beaufort to Ladies Island up to the left, and is where a large part of the population of Beaufort County live. There's often been talk about making this bridge taller, making it a fixed bridge, so that every time ship traffic passes, it won't cause such a backup on the highways. However, if you do look to the starboard side, the bridge empties right into the historic district. If the bridge is made taller, then the entrance of the bridge must be made deeper into the town, and that would cause the destruction of some of these magnificent old homes.
There's the traffic. They just turned the whole middle of the bridge. Here's the bridge turning back. Pretty cool. Pretty fast. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to see that. I thought if it turned to open for us, it must close.
That's right. You're right. Look how far back they keep the cars.
I know. That'd be bad if you drove over the edge.
Will we hear the click?
I don't know. I guess we'll know it's done when the cars start driving.
Yeah. I want to hear the click. Well, they have to wait a long time.
Yeah, probably. I know, and there too.
I remember I had that come
On the
Key
bridge?
Biscayne once, and we had to get to the airport, and the bridge
Oh.
opened up.
Frustrating. So can I think my husband?
This is Beaufort.
Right.
We have to take a little shuttle, a boat.
No, I think a bus. A bus.
Oh, we don't have to go over the water to get there?
No, I don't think so.
Well, why do we have to take a bus? We going past the town?
I think that's it, yeah. This is Beaufort, South Carolina.
This is Beaufort, South Carolina. Little historic town right on the bay.
He didn't get back in time in the time period when he told his people he left behind me to be back, so it prompted them to build one of the first ships built here in the New World. Well, legend has it that their shipbuilding skills were better than their navigational skills, because on the way back to France they got lost. They tossed about at sea, they ran out of supplies, and in order to survive they had to resort to cannibalism. And the deer were eating the crops. They'll eat anything. And they had to do something about the deer, so they made an agreement with the Creek Indians. And the Creek Indians will kill the deer in exchange and give the pelts to the colonists in exchange for supplies. Well, the area started to flourish. Beaufort was officially chartered as a city in 1711, and everything was going fine until 1714, when the deer population took a sudden decline. So the Indians didn't have deer to kill, but they still wanted the supplies they were getting from their colonists. So the colonists set up an indentured servants agreement with them, where they would get the supplies, but if they couldn't repay their debt after such a period of time, they were sold into slavery. Well, in 1715, the Indians grew very tired of this agreement, and they came into the city and burned the city of Beaufort to the ground. Was selling for about 60 to 70 cents a pound. The planters down here were becoming extremely wealthy. They opened trade routes with England again. They were trading with European countries, and just making bukus and bukus of money. Well, the United States government, particularly senators from up north, didn't like this. And they said they wanted the trade to be done through the northern city. There are two exceptions on this tour. Now, one of them is whenever we get around this corner, you'll see it. Step up. This home that we're coming up on is going to be on the right-hand side when we take a turn. This is the Dr. Joseph Johnson house. Now, Dr. Johnson, he built this home in the 1850s, shortly before the Civil War. It was actually still under construction whenever the Great Skedaddle occurred. Now, he did something very off the coast, and they would come here to Beaufort to seek safe harbor. They didn't think the law would catch up with them. Well, eventually the law did, and this tree we're going under served as the pirate hanging tree back in our early history. If you got a chill when we went under it, there might be some ghosts around or something.
What kind of tree is that?
That's a live oak tree. Now over here on your left-hand side, you'll see a home sitting across this tidal pool. That's Little Taj. It's not called Little Taj because it has anything to do with the Taj Mahal. It's called Little Taj because on a day when the water's still, you'll see a perfect reflection of that home in the water.
Oh, that's cool.
Now back here is what I was telling y'all about. Looks like a boat. Now over here on our left-hand side, we have a casino.
Oh my gosh.
Now this home over here on your left-hand side, this is the James Rhett house. Now Mr. Rhett fell in love with a young lady that we only know as the Belle of Beaufort. And she had told all the young men in the city that she would only marry the man that built her the finest house.
Wow.
So he designed a 4-over-4 house with porches on 4 sides.
Wow.
And but he built it shortly after the Civil War and he ran out of money. So he had to stop at a 2-over-2 house with porches on 3 sides. So it's nicknamed Rhett's Folly as a result of that. Everything you see from where that porch ends up there on that side of the house back has been added on. So much that between his 2 wives he had 17 children.
Oh my God.
He built this large house with more than enough room to accommodate the children that were in his household at the time. And we don't know if he was planning, he named his children alphabetically, starting at A and working towards Z. We don't know if he wanted to finish the alphabet or not, because he died during the construction of this home. They say his wife had 2 apartments. These little windows that you'll see, those were the slaves' quarters, and the bigger windows were added in later on and used whenever they built apartments. And it was constructed in the late 1700s to house the Beaufort Volunteer Artillery. In 1852, there was a small fire and they reconstructed it. It was originally built with a lower wall and only 1 story, but I'll tell you a little bit about him in a minute. Now this church right here, this is a Tabernacle Baptist church. What It was originally built in the early 1800s by a group of churchgoers at St. Helena's Episcopal Church who broke away inside the
Took a little blanket around your shoulders. Take this off.
That was cold.
I'll even look at it. See if I can fix it.